Hello friends, welcome to One Stop All Poetry Solution. Today we are going to discuss The Lake Isle of Innisfree by William Butler Yeats. You must remember that the pronunciation is not Yeats but it is William Butler Yeats. He is popularly known as W.B. Yeats, and before I head on straight into the poem, I would like to give a little bit of the authorial background. He was a poet who is renowned for his exquisite and different writing style, and which is quite uncommon in any of the modernist poets, unlike every poet from the other, but his writing style is very different. He was born in Ireland in 1865, and he was a very prominent figure during the 19th century. He wrote both poetry and plays, and his early plays were focused mainly on interpreting the Irish legends. Okay, and he became to as if he represented his anti-nationalist views a lot, and he was appointed to the Irish Senate in 1922. He would win the Nobel Prize for literature in 1923, and during the last 16 years of his life, from 1923 to 39, he published a number of volumes of poetry, which is indeed considered to be one of the best. And in this poem, The Lake Isle of Innisfree, he lived with the experiences of the poem, how he contrasts and compares with his growing up in the city and spending of a lot of time in the countryside, and to a certain extent his writing style and his that continuous craving to return to nature reminds us of William Wordsworth, though it is completely different. And one of his favorite places, for your information, I would like to tell, was to visit the county Sligo, where the real Isle of Innisfree, the actual place it can be located, right? So let's start with the poem. It is indeed an idealistic way, and describes the magical qualities that this particular place has in the different times of the day. And when he gets to experience this unbroken solitude and peace all by himself, with the minimalistic setting, with minimalistic surroundings and setup. He tells that I will rise and go now and go to Innisfree, and a small cabin built there of clay and wattles made. 9 bean rows will I have there, a hive for the honey bee, and live alone in the bee loud glade. So he tells that he wants to get up and go right away to Innisfree, and he repeats this word go twice. That shows how important it is and how much he craves to go to that particular place. He is determined, and he will find that peace and solitude there at Innisfree. He will build a small home for himself, and it is only for his living. It's small, that is the significance. He is only going to live for himself and only by himself. There will be no family members or others or friends, whatever. And he plans to build that small hut with clay and wattles. Wattles are kind of sticks and rods which are generally found in the wild. And once he starts living in that small cabin, he dreams of having bean rows, 9 rows of bean plants, and a hive made by the honey bees, where there will be a continuous humming sound which will be a natural source of music to him. And then, as in the next line, he tells that there will be glade. He will be building that in the glade, which is a small clearing in the forest which will be surrounded by all the sound and the kind of solitude. He'll be with himself, the small home, the sound of the honey bees, and the cabin built from the clay and the wattles. Because you see, that shows that how less ambitious he is. He does not want to have an elegant setup. He wants to stay all by himself. And if you see, when you read this poem out aloud, you will hear, and you will be able to understand also, there is a repetitive use of the letter I, which kinds of appeals to the ears, and it reminds us of the waves in which the line is being described. All right, now in the stanza 2, and I shall have some peace there, for peace comes dropping slow, dropping from the vales of the morning to where the cricket sings. Then midnight's all a glimmer, and noon a purple glow, and evening full of linnet's wings. Okay, linnet is a kind of a bird, a small brown and grayish colored bird, a finch you can tell, and it has a reddish brown breast. So it's a beautiful bird, and this imagery of the bird with the purple glow and the afternoon, that strikes a very beautiful imagery to our minds, and it further emphasizes how much he is missing that place, because it is quite significant that the readers must notice that he is daydreaming. And he tells that that the peace that he's going to enjoy, the solitude that he's going to enjoy and be all by himself, there is a kind of metaphorical relationship that he builds, and he strikes it us to the readers, challenges us, telling or pointing out that how the notion of peace and nature is simple and does not come at much cost. You can find happiness, peace, and solitude in the little things of nature and in life. He describes the peace as dropping slow. It does not come to him as if it is in a race, it does not rush to him. It comes slowly and steadily, and he relates the peace to the morning dew, which settles and which evaporates slowly only with the rise of the sun. He will be surrounded by all these things in the glade. So the humming of the bees was one thing, with his clay hut and wattles made of wattles, and another thing is, here is the peace, the surroundings, the forest cover, the peace, the morning dew, the sound of the crickets on the grass, everything will be peaceful. And during the night, as the night settles in, everything is going to glimmer, everything is going to shine all by itself. There will not be any artificial lights. Artificial lights, by I mean the lamp lights, the street lamps, okay, and the stars will be shining, and he will be able to enjoy that. That is something he craves for. I will arise and go now, for always night and day I hear lake water lapping with low sounds by the shore. While I stand on the roadway or on the pavement's grey, I hear it in the deep heart's core. So it is at this juncture that the poet comes out of that trance-like state, because I already told you in the second stanza that he is daydreaming. And he describes that lake isle of Innisfree and comes to address his city life, the people belonging to the city, the so-called real world, real life, and he is telling that he is going to leave for that place, that I am going to go. Again, remember I told you that there is a reference to the word go over and over again in each quatrain. Quatrain is you can tell in simplistic word a bunch. It's a group of 4 lines. It comes from the French word quatre. I hope I am pronouncing it correctly, but quatre, Quatre. Okay, you can look for the correct pronunciation, no problem. And